Greetings and salutations to one and all. How you doing? Welcome to a brand new week right here on the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew.
It is time for us to make peace and stop the fighting. One love.
I want to say big ups to each and everyone locked in right now.
No more borders around me.
Those tuning radio. On the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. Welcome. Big ups to those locked in with the affiliates all over the globe. Big ups to those over there in the UK, One Harmony Radio. Top of the morning to you guys over there.
Let it be for justice.
Big ups to those who are locked in out of New Jersey, NIE Radio.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice.
Much love to those in New York. On Island.
Oppression, racism.
Sorry, getting distracted here. Island worldwide. Exhibiting the power of music. Big ups to you over there in New York. China Nicole. Speaking of China Nicole, kicking it off today. The sound of China Nicole. It's called Let It Be for Justice, and you hear that playing in the background. I want to say big up to those out of Texas and WGLRO, the home of the Donnie Walker Morning Show, the People Station. Big up to those on Ottawa Radio, Dusick Media Groups. Much love to you. Hello to those locked in on the Foundation Radio Network, ClintonLindsay.com. Big ups to those on Facebook Live. How you doing? Taking this from the top once more. The sound of China Nicole. As we get everything situated.
It's time for us to make peace and stop the fighting. One love, one unity, got to break the bondage. No more borders around me. No more mental slavery. Bob Marley said it best, stand together and feel alright. But if we fight, let it be for justice. And if we war, let it be for justice. At all costs, let it be for justice. Do what is right. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Inequity, disparities, and violence. Oppression, racism, no, I won't be silent. No more barriers for we. We will thrive, prosperity. Marcus Garvey said it best, none but ourselves can free your minds. But if we fight, let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. We the people are from royalty. I wish so many of us can see. Keep the culture, be united, stop the violence. Put the power in ourselves, create the franchise. In the news last week, another bomb overseas. I'm so sick of these murders in the streets.
The sound of China Nicole saying, listen, if we're gonna fight, if we're gonna war, let it be for justice. Hey Francine, how you doing?
Let it be for justice. Let it be for
Francine, you know, you're the ones doing the cooking over there. Big up to Jadan and the Bacchus Entertainment crew.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice.
Let me just go ahead and take care of some housekeeping here.
Let it be for justice.
I do want to say thank you to my segment sponsors,
Let it be for
Pulse Media Group, and Being in a Moment is Priceless. Give them a call for innovative streaming and recording solutions.
Let it be for justice.
754-999-6020.
Matter what it costs, let it be for justice.
They can do everything you see here on kevinstew.com and more.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice.
So you have an event that you want to stream live, a wedding, a funeral, a church service, graduation,
The people are
you name it, they got you.
royalty. I wish so many
Give them a call at 754-999-6020.
keep the culture be united.
Tell them DJ Kevin Stew sent you.
Put the power in ourselves, create the franchise.
Want to say thank you to Pulse E-Media Group
I'm so sick
for sponsoring the first segment. Thank you to Althea and her Healing Heavenly Hands. Althea is a licensed massage therapist that comes to you operating out of Broad County, North Miami-Dade and South Palm Beach counties.
But if we fall,
She brings her table, she brings her oil, she brings over 20 years of experience. As long as you call her 954-655-9000. That's 954-655-9000.
what is wrong?
Or email her at thealita@att.net. And you're willing to
Be for justice.
agree to one thing outside of paying her, that is
No matter what it costs,
that you get off her table and go sleep somewhere else when she's done.
be for justice. Let it be for justice. Let it be for
Want to say thank you to
let it be
Reggae Global Entertainment.
let it be for justice. Boy,
Reggae Global Entertainment will act as booking agents, handle your tour management, take care of your catering, publishing, trademarks, business registration, legal service referrals, music production, marketing and promotion, and much more. Give them a call, 954-804-8199. That's 954-804-8199. Or check them out online, reggaeglobalentertainment.com.
let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice.
And also thank you to GMAC Music Solutions, bringing your events to life,
The people
providing sound, light, stage production services, musical equipment, PA systems, audio engineers, DJs, bands, musicians, singers, and more.
see. Keep the culture be united. Stop the violence.
Give them a call, 754-307-GMAC.
Franchise.
That's 754-307-4622.
I'm so sick of
Or check them out online, gmacmusicsolutions.com. I want to say thank you to GMAC for helping me out big time on Saturday. Working out with Chef Culture in Fort Lauderdale, feeding Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, that was a big Juneteenth event. Chef Culture provided over 300 meals. I think it was 375 boxed meals were made and distributed. We're talking about not only just whip up a meal, we're talking about actual chefs preparing meals and just handing them out to homeless, shut-ins, to anybody that passed through that said, hey, listen, I'm hungry, I need some food, can you help me out? They were there for them.
of us can see. Keep the culture be united. Stop the violence. Put the power in.
So in the background we hear the music from China Nicole, a track called Let It Be for Justice.
Sick of these
And if
murders.
there's one thing that we're looking for, it's just that, some justice. And apparently it is not as easy to come by as some people may think. But of course, you know, at some points in time you need to put up a fight, you need to make some noise, rattle some cages. Sometimes you just need to stand up and ask the question, yo, what's going on here and why?
Let it be for justice.
Tonight we're
Let it be.
we're continuing on the path to seek justice for a young man by the name of Julius Jones. And boy, this is one of those stories that each time you hear it, it's like you're hearing it for the first time, and you can just only hold your head and wonder what is going on here. And it's a legitimate question to ask. What is really going on here? And with me tonight, I have some people that are really close to Julius Jones. No strangers to the broadcast. I want to welcome back to the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew, attorney Dale Baich, the sister of Julius Jones, Antoinette Jones, and the best friend of Julius Jones, Jimmy Lawson. Welcome back to the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew family. Welcome back.
Oh, it's good to be back.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate you.
Hey,
Glad
listen,
to be back.
it's my privilege. It's my pleasure. You guys, like I said, you guys are family now. You know, Jimmy and Antoinette. We started this little bit of information on the night shift about a year now. Yeah, it has to be about a year ago, right? Wait, what was last year? 2020? Or was it 2019?
Yeah, I think it was about a year ago.
Yeah, about a year ago. And then we had Dale joining us on the last broadcast that we did. So, you know, here is the family. Those of you watching on Facebook Live and on the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. Oh, by the way, welcome to those family members who are locked in on the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I want to say big ups to Justice C. Rooting here in the stew pot. For those of you wondering what the stew pot is, it's what others call a chat room. But because we're fancy on kevinstew.com, we call it the stew pot. It's where we keep things interactive and bubbling. And Justice C is locked in the stew pot. Glad to have you hanging around with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, you guys, what can I say about this talk tonight? You see, here we go. Off the bat, Justice C has a question in the stew pot. You know, well, she has a comment saying, ask about the Suburban and if they tested it and found anything linking Julius to it. Boy, is it is? There are some people out there that are like, yo, we're with Julius. And we know that things are not right. So what's going on here? Tonight, I titled tonight, as those who are watching can see, Julius being denied speaking. And this comes from the latest bit of news after Julius got through to have his case brought up to the parole board, which was a big deal. That was a big win. 2 months ago?
That's right.
Yeah. So, I guess that is kind of where we would pick up from. But there are some people who don't know about the Julius Jones case. I know I've spoken to some people recently and asked them if they're familiar with it, and they're like, that name sounds familiar, but I'm just not sure. So, for those that are listening in for the first time, those who don't really know about Julius Jones, you can check out the website, and that's justiceforjuliusjones.com.
That's correct.
Yeah, I was going from memory there, and I think I got it right. Thank you, Jimmy. All right, so we have, like I said earlier, we have Julius's sister, we have Julius's best friend, and one of Julius's attorneys. And so, how was it, real quick, as a bit of an overview? How was it that Julius got to where he is now? Death row in Oklahoma, over 20 years.
I'll let Dale take that one.
Dale.
Thanks. In 1999, the summer of 1999, a man by the name of Paul Howell was killed as he was getting out of the Suburban that he parked in his driveway. The only witness to the shooting described the assailant as a black man wearing a stocking cap with a bandana over his face, a red bandana, and half an inch of hair hanging out from under the cap. Shortly after the crime, Chris Jordan, who was the co-defendant, pointed the finger at Julius, as did a number of other people who we later learned were confidential informants for the police. Problem is, Julius was at home when the crime occurred with his family, so he wasn't there. To answer the question that one of your listeners raised, there was no evidence found in the Suburban that linked Julius to the crime. So what we have is the word of the co-defendant, who himself was facing the death penalty. And in exchange for his testimony, he got a life sentence and ended up getting out of prison after serving only 15 years. And these two confidential informants who also got deals in exchange for their testimony. That's what landed Julius on death row.
You mentioned Julius was at home. And online with us is Antoinette, the sister of Julius Jones. Antoinette.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening again. Julius, says he was home during the time that Paul Hall was killed. What do you have to say about
Yes,
that?
sir. Did I know he was at home? Because the only thing I was worried about that day was that I was going to get in trouble because I had eaten a piece of my brother's birthday cookie, excuse me. So I know he was at home because he was pacing back and forth. And he was like, man, I can't wait till mama get home so I can tell him that y'all done ate my cookie, just to sum everything up. That was the only thing bad I was thinking was going to happen that day. And lo and behold, a man over in Edmond was gunned down in his parents' driveway.
And then the finger ended up being pointed at Julius.
Right. I would have never connected that. Never connected that. Because I know where my brother was. He can't be in two places at one time.
So wait, hold up. How is he in prison if you are here to say that he was at home?
Right. How is he? He's in prison because Christopher Jordan, the co-defendant, took a plea deal and said that he was there.
So
by hearsay, basically. Hearsay.
You didn't get to say, but no.
I didn't get to testify. Nobody was called to testify on Jesus' behalf in the court. He didn't even get to testify himself. And it was known that the death penalty was on the table the whole time. So the inexperience of his lawyers at the time basically is why he's where he's at.
This is one of those situations where the lawyer simply stood up when it was time for Julius to present his case and said, the defense rests. No evidence or testimony was put on by the defense. So all that the jurors heard was the case that the state presented. And that was enough for them to convict Julius and eventually sentence him to death.
Jimmy, you are Julius's best friend. And you've been there from the beginning of this whole thing. for those of you who watched the documentary, and if you go to the website, justiceforjuliusjones.com, the documentary is on there. If you saw the 2020 special, you'd have seen and heard Antoinette, and you'd have seen and heard Jimmy. This is that same Jimmy. Jimmy, you and Julius has been friends. You've been friends how long? And
Go ahead. Since the 6th grade.
Since the 6th grade. So when you hear someone say, your best friend is being sought after by the police for murder, what do you have to say?
On that day, I couldn't believe it. When I came home from work, the particular day when they were seeking to apprehend Julius from his home, and of course we stayed on the same street. So when they had all the street with paddy wagons and helicopters, and I was like, man, this is a movie. And keep in mind, our neighborhood at the time was different demographically than it is now. So back then it was about 70% white, 30% black.
Right.
So me being somewhat in tune with numbers, I'm thinking he's got to be looking for a white guy. Right. So I'm standing there and watching the penny wagon get a little closer to my street. I start getting a little concerned because it started narrowing down, right, from block to block, and as I'm looking, I'm thinking, wait a minute. I know they're not surrounding Julius' house. So county sheriff says, hey, we're looking for the murder suspect for Mr. Howe in the Edmond murder. I thought, okay. And then when the gentleman said, we're looking for Julius Jones, man, the feeling I can describe the best is like somebody coming out the bush and sucker punching you in your stomach, right, when you're not watching. You just, touch the air. And you're like, no. You got to be looking for the wrong guy, man. That's an academic. That's an full academic scholarship individual at the University of Oklahoma. He is not a murderer. So it was one of those dreamy nightmare type moments, man, for me, because again, we're talking about a long history with me and Julius. We were always into the right stuff, hanging around the right people, doing the right thing. So, to live that out and watch that live, it was just, it was one of those stomach turning moments, man.
Yeah. I can imagine. Antoinette, we just came off the Father's Day weekend. How's your father holding up?
He tries to put on a big face and things like that, but I know I could tell it kind of bothered him not to be able to hear from him.
Yeah.
Not to be able to talk to him, because Jesus is also a father as well. So that's always been pretty tough.
I came across that bit of information somewhere, and I was like, wait a minute, Julius is a dad? And I meant to ask about it, and I don't recall ever asking about it. And so, with you bringing that up, no, thank you for even bringing that up. There's that to consider also. All right, so we have family members, a girlfriend at the time. Jimmy, you fall in the family members category because coming from that far back, I don't know why you still call yourself best friend. But
yeah, he's definitely like a brother. He's definitely like a brother.
Yeah, and when you consider these things, and you look at what those who know him have to say and have been saying about him, you kind of have to wonder, how is it that none of these people were called to the witness stand to give testimony? It just seems crazy to me. But the whole case seems crazy to me, and it must be because it's hindsight for me, and hindsight is 2020. Justice C in the stew pot says, every time she hears of David McKenzie standing up and saying the defense rests, she gets PO'd. And saying that he should never be allowed to practice law after that sorry excuse of a job he did in not defending Julius Jones. But here's one of the things. You see, he was appointed to this case specifically because he was a young attorney. Because this was Mackenzie's first major case, wasn't it?
It was, but we need to look back and see what was going on in Oklahoma County at the time, and to some extent it's still going on today. The public defender's office is grossly underfunded, and does not have the resources necessary to handle capital cases. And when you have an office that has virtually no resources and inexperienced lawyers, it's easy to see how a case could go so bad so quickly.
So, how then did you really get involved, Dale? Because you are quite an experienced lawyer yourself.
Well, after Julius was convicted and sentenced to death, his case went through the state and federal courts on various appeals. And when Julius's case was out of court, my office was asked if we would represent Julius. I'm in Arizona. Julius is in Oklahoma. The reason we were asked is because the federal defender in Oklahoma had a conflict and could not represent Julius. So they asked us if we would. So our office was appointed in August of 2016. And we rolled up our sleeves. We started to investigate, and slowly, as time went on, we uncovered new information. We uncovered evidence. We learned that the lawyers did not do certain things at trial. So it took us some time to get our arms around the case. Right. And we're convinced that Julius was wrongfully convicted, and an innocent man is on death row.
Yeah, that's nuts. Hey, Red Fox. Yeah, it is crazy. Justice C says it doesn't really matter how inexperienced and how young you were. You have a job to do. You should actually do it. How are you gonna get any experience if you're not doing your job? At least try. And but it was, if anybody going back and checking out the even just the documentary, and then going back and checking out the previous broadcasts I did on Julius Jones, you'd have heard some information leading up and during the trial, and some of the things that they did. It was just ridiculous, literally. Whether you watch the documentary, the initial documentary, or the more recent 2020 special, crazy, just craziness right through. Yeah, Justice C, is like you're reading my mind. One of the things that they talk about quite a bit is Julius's criminal history. And they had used this as, I guess, a way to paint a picture of the criminal that Julius Jones is. Jimmy, I would like you first to touch on Julius's criminal history. No, better yet. Yeah, you, Jimmy, because a best friend would know some of the things that actual family members, are not aware of. Antoinette, I want you to touch on it right after, and then Dale, I want you to sum up that whole criminal history thing from an attorney's perspective for me. So, Jimmy.
Yeah, touching on that basis, it was really interesting when the opposition, which is the Attorney General and District Attorney, will make these press conferences about, Julius's character. What was really intriguing to me, the family and Dale and Amanda, was, how the state of Oklahoma was painting a certain picture that was 100% false. So they were throwing out allegations about certain past allegations that Julius was tied into, or in their mind was tried and convicted. The twist to that is that Dale can be my testament that, Julius has never been tried or convicted for those particular allegations. But when you have the highest power individual in the state of Oklahoma, such as the Attorney General, choosing a side, a lot of people don't know that as an elected official, as Attorney General, you're not supposed to choose a side, right? You're there to represent the facts of the case and be a representative for the state of Oklahoma.
Right.
So that was unique. When I in my lifetime, I've never seen an AG stand up and provide a one-sided disposition and to bash a specific individual. I've never watched that before, so that was very intriguing to me. And then very non-integrity from an elected official. So that was a red flag. For those who don't know the case, for those who were not familiar with the case or on the outside public, that was tricky, because if that's all you heard from that side, you would think, oh, well, Julius is guilty. Right? Until you actually look at the facts of the case and the whole entirety of the case. So, all the allegations, that they were spitting out about Mr. Jones, from my perspective, being the best friend, were totally opposite of who he stood for. Again, you're talking about a guy that was almost, in my opinion, borderline genius. Julius was borderline. He was hovering that normality and that genius level. Right? Not very many people had that type of mental capacity coming out of high school, such as Julius Jr. So when you talk about the family structure, you talk about the character, you think about the foundation, you think about the values, and you talk about the person himself, and you add all of those up, right? And it doesn't take the sharpest tool in the tool shed to understand that something's not right. Something's not right when this presentation was being made by the opposition.
Crazy. Antoinette.
Yes, sir.
Your brother as a criminal prior to this whole Paul Hall murder. What do you have to say about that?
I think when you have AGs and DAs that use their power to say slanderous and allegate, basically alleging that he did these things, but he didn't do them. Like Jimmy was saying, that's very dangerous. That's very dangerous. And then they ask for transparency, but it's one-sided. That I can say I'm pissed off about more so is that he did the AG chose to give a one-sided summary instead of the whole picture. So he came from a biased position the whole time. He even stated in a press conference that he was going for Mr. Paul Skyhouse family. We're in court choosing a side. We're not in court anymore. We're fighting for a man's life who has several key points of why he's innocent. Nothing is tying him to the crime other than words and hearsay.
Right.
And for him not, and then for them not to give over the case file, that is so, how's a person supposed to fight for their life if they're not given all of the tools and materials that they need, which takes us back to the beginning of my brother's case. Is there was not a proper defense, and that's what we've been saying from the beginning.
Right.
We just want a fair process, a fair due process, and I'm gonna let Dale do the rest. But from the fact that they use allegations and not solid, concrete evidence, and they're supposed to be elected officials. You know, they're elected officials in this high position.
Right.
High position. Like, what is that saying to the people?
Right.
We're going to win by any means necessary.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're saying.
Exactly
We don't care
that.
about it being fair. We're just going to win by any means necessary. And that's dangerous because you're playing with people's lives, and they consider, right now, those people in positions like that, they consider case numbers. They don't consider them to be human beings. And that's what we need to get back to.
Right.
Everybody's a human being. We matter. And I'm going to let Dale go too. Sorry.
Dale, before you get into that, I'm gonna say goodbye to those on Facebook Live. Jump on over to kevinstew.com. Use the link it's pinned in the comment section. Come on over to kevinstew.com for the remainder of this broadcast. Thank you guys over there on Facebook Live. Deuces to you. Catch you tomorrow on Healthy Love. If you can't make it, do catch the podcast or catch a YouTube. Tomorrow it will be uploaded. But come on over right now and join us for the remainder of this broadcast. Dale, how exactly did this pre-Paul Howell criminal come to being?
Well, the allegations that were made by the district attorney and attorney general are complicated, and they're complicated because it is true. Julius was not a choir boy. He had some misdemeanors. He had one felony for trying to get a fake ID.
Mm-hmm.
But he did not have the violent felonies that the AG and district attorney are putting out there. Those are all uncharged allegations that were never put before a court, put before a jury, and a jury deciding guilt or not guilty. So you have this narrative that's developed based on allegations, no proof, allegations. And that's to follow up on what Antoinette said. They're trying to portray Julius as this person who was very violent, and that's not the case.
It's interesting, but not unusual that this is a tactic that is used. We've seen this presented in numerous cases over the years in the United States. So much so that people are moving away from calling it a justice system to calling it an injustice system. And it is crazy because here you have allegations which are now being presented as truths. And one of the things that I want people to understand about facts is a fact is a bit of information that is presented. Now, is the fact truth? Not necessarily. So it is a fact that this information was presented, and when you look at the court transcripts, you will see that this information was presented. Fact. Now, are these facts truths? No, that is different. Julius Jones was by no means a violent individual. It's the fact that he was presented as such. But the truth is, he isn't. So, those of you who like to rely on court transcripts for your information, you can't just stop there. You need to dig a little bit deeper. I understand that you're sharing your opinion. Fine. But just like anal orifices, just about everyone has one. So go ahead, share your opinion, but don't let it be that you're spewing what comes from an anal orifice. That's all I'm saying with that. Now, so here it is. Julius Jones is being presented in such a way, and we've seen this. We cited the Central Park Five. We see it in cases that I talk about also on this broadcast, like the case of Rodney Reed. And these facts are presented. Now, depending on who is presenting the fact, it may seem like it's a truth, because you'd expect individuals that hold these high-ranking positions, individuals that are supposed to be upholding the law and exercising the law to the highest extent, that you would expect that it is not about just winning a case. You'd expect that it is not just about padding the pockets of private prison owners, which is a whole nother argument. It's a whole different discussion. But one thing that we've seen throughout the years is the business of incarceration. Now, how much of the business does Julius being on death row play into the business? I don't know. But what I do know is Julius should not be, one, in prison, let alone on death row. And Justice C is asking who was the one black juror, and has anyone spoken with him on why he voted guilty? That's an interesting question too. But to have Julius not only on death row, but to try to deny him the opportunity to be eligible for parole. But Julius ended up winning on that front, which only takes him to another battle in the war, which is the actual parole board hearing. Now, for this hearing, it is being said that he won't be able to address the parole board. I'm correct with that, right, Dale?
Yes.
Now, I'd like for you to explain to us why he wouldn't be able to be heard, and the importance of actually being heard by the parole board when you're coming up for parole.
So let me briefly explain the process in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Julius is asking for his death sentence to be commuted to time served. Under Oklahoma law, a person cannot ask for a pardon until he or she are out of prison. So
Okay.
Asking for a commutation is the relief that's available to us. Under the rules, the Pardon and Parole Board did a jacket review, meaning it looked at the commutation application and the supporting exhibits, and then it voted to send the case to what is called a Stage 2 review. And at that Stage 2 review, we get to make a presentation to the Pardon and Parole Board. The district attorney gets to make a presentation. The victims get to make a presentation. And the prisoner is entitled to appear by video and make a statement and answer questions. So what happened to Julius back in November of 2020, he called his sister. He called Antoinette,
Right.
and Antoinette was at a rally, and she put Julius on speakerphone, held a microphone to the phone, and Julius thanked people for supporting him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that made it onto the local news. someone found out about it and said, we need to investigate. And what they ended up doing is finding Julius, finding that Julius committed a misconduct for making an unauthorized conference call. A conference call is a three-way call, and it's clear under the prison rules that you're not allowed to make a three-way call.
Right.
But there's nothing that prohibits a prisoner from calling someone and then have a loved one put him on speaker so he could talk to
Multiple
family.
people.
They only have,
right.
Yeah. So, but by having this misconduct under the rules, Julius is not allowed to make a statement at his commutation hearing.
But that isn't the only misconduct that they're saying that he has, right?
They also said that they conducted a search of his cell and found a cell phone charger. We asked to see the charger. We asked to get a photograph of the charger. And all that we got was a very grainy black and white Xerox of something that looks like a bunch of yarn.
Now, for those that are watching, sorry, one moment, Dale. For those that are watching, I'm putting that up on the screen right now. That image of that Dale is referring to. This image that you're looking at right now is the quote unquote cell phone charger. Now, I don't know what manner of new age technology this is, but here you go. This is a cell phone charger. I don't know what kind of cell phone that would be charging, but that is what Dale received as evidence of the cell phone charger. Now, few things going on in my head, and those who know me know that in my head is not a lot of great things happening. Once it is up in my head, anything liable to happen. Firstly, this conference call. So let's argue it a little bit. An individual stands up in front of a group of people and address the crowd. It is referred to as a conference. If it goes on, well, I guess it doesn't really matter how long it goes on for. But if you address a group of people, it can be defined as a conference. Is that the argument that is being used to say that Julius was on a conference call?
Yes. Julius was using his voice to thank his supporters and put that message out there. And because he used his voice, he's being punished. And that's why it's important for people to speak out and speak on Julius's behalf.
Hey, cuz, how are you doing? My cousin hailing from Jamaica. I read this thing over and over, and like Jimmy, I laugh at this not because it's hilarious, because it's unbelievable. So
it's both hilarious and unbelievable. When Dale called and told me about that, man, I thought it was one of those deals where somebody had the cameras and one of those, what do you call it, practical jokes?
Yeah, Dale with the practical jokes, lightening up the mood, I guess. Dale, you need to quit playing, man.
and then when I saw the picture, of the charge, I said, man, it looks like a rat. It looks like one of those mice or mouse or something. Man, there's no way that could be a cell phone charger.
Well, it's that new age technology. It could look like anything. I don't know what you'd call that phone. What was that, Dale?
Well, Yes, and something that Antoinette said earlier too about transparency.
Mm-hmm.
The Julius said that when his cell was searched, they did not show him what they claimed was a charger, and when we asked to see it, they refused our request. So, what do they have to hide? If it is a charger, it's a charger. But why the mystery?
Right. One question that I had is, well, not one, a few questions that I had, or it could be one question with several parts. Either way, Julius is on death row, correct?
Yes.
Julius is pretty much in solitary confinement, correct?
He is.
Julius gets how many visitors a day?
Unless he has a legal visit, which is a contact visit, or a family and friend visit, which is a non-contact visit, no visits.
So, if there's contraband in this solitary confinement cell, how would it get there?
I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that the guards have been known to bring in contraband. Guards have been charged with promoting contraband. So we don't know the answer, but we do know that there's only one way for it to get in. I got to tell you, like when I go in to see Julius, I have to clear a metal detector.
Mm-hmm.
I am patted down. My shoes, I have to take my shoes off and show the correction officer the bottom of my feet, and they look at the shoes to make sure that I'm not bringing something in. There's only one way, I think, that the contraband could get into the prisons.
Now, so let's go with the argument. Let us say, for argument's sake, that this item, this charger, is real. Is he charging the cell wall? Is the lining of the wall doubling as a cell phone? This is redefining cell phone. What is he charging with this device, this charger? What is he charging?
The people on death row and people in prison have been allowed to have MP4 players and other electronic devices. If it is a charger, is it something that was used to charge property that he was permitted to have? Again, we haven't seen what they claim to be as a cell phone charger.
Okay, I get that. I'm just looking at the other part of it. You're claiming a cell phone charger. Where is the cell phone that this charging cable is to be plugged into to charge it? Does the cell have power outlets?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that, but good. Okay, good to know. So, what the rest of the charger? Where's the base that plugs into the wall? when something like this is presented, you're presenting an argument. Okay, here's a cell phone charger. This is contraband, and because of this is a misconduct. And if you have X amount of misconducts, you're not allowed to speak when your parole comes up. And so here you can have two misconducts. Here is one because you have this charging cable, and the other is that you had an illegal conference call. Now, if you're going to use the argument that addressing multiple people in an organized setting is a conference, then the misconduct should say that he had an illegal or an unauthorized conference, not an unauthorized conference call. Because when you're talking cell phone language, your conference call is just as you described it, Dale. It is multiple people at different locations using different devices locking in on one call. Just like we're doing right now, we're having a conference call.
Right.
Now, what I do a lot of times could be considered having a conference, speaking on the radio. The difference is it is not a bunch of people gathered in one place for the purpose of hearing my voice, which could be defined as a conference. If that is the argument that they want to present, okay, present that argument. But the conference, how do they get away with presenting this argument in the first place? How do they get away with presenting this thing, this rat, like Jimmy calls it, as a cell phone charger? Antoinette, I don't know what you call it. Antoinette, I want to hear what you call it. Jimmy calls it a rat. What do you call it?
That's what I called it, a burnt up rat. That's what I was doing. It look like a rat, don't it? That was something I don't even understand why they even showed that to Dale and them. It was like, hey, let me go find something that look like it doesn't even look like a cord.
No.
Right.
And that's what one of the things that get me. So are they saying that we, Joe Public, not you, Dale, the rest of us, Joe Public, are, because we are just that, Joe Public, we will believe anything that they put out because they are the law, they are corrections, they are, I don't know what they are. Jimmy, you're not allowed to say that. I know what you're thinking, you're not allowed to say it.
Well, let me explain the process. So, Julius is charged with a misconduct. He gets a ticket. He could appeal that decision.
Okay.
Who decides the appeal? The person who wrote the ticket. So the way that the system works in prison, if someone gets a ticket or a misconduct, the prison is the judge, jury, and sentencer.
Are you kidding me?
And there's no way out of that process.
You've got to be kidding me. So, wait, hold on. Let me make sure I get this right. This misconduct.
I told you it was a comedy show.
Yeah. And I hate the fact that you're right, and I'm glad that I stopped you from saying that thought that you were thinking earlier. Let me get this right. So this internal thing that they have decided that they're going to use as whatever method of control that they do in the prison system is going to have such significant bearing on an external thing that there's no external influence in an appeal. I'm so confused by this. I think we had lost Dale, and now we're getting him back. Um, I am also confused by this. Welcome back, Dale.
I'm sorry I got cut off the conference call.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna have to teach you how to use a cell phone. Which that's another thing too. Julius has been in prison how long exactly, Antoinette?
Want to say 22 years.
Okay. How long have you, any of you, had your cell phones? Do you remember getting your first cell phone?
I think I was in the 7th or 8th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had the same number since.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't 20 years ago.
Don't call me out on my age.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, right.
And even if it was, cell phones have changed significantly since that time till now.
My cord still didn't look like that to charge up something. My phone cord still didn't look like that. And we had what was it, Nokia back then? Yeah, it didn't look like that.
What I'm saying is, this argument here is redonkulous. And yet still, this internal course of action, this internal disciplinary measure, there's no way that an attorney on the outside can argue this internal thing in the prison. So if nobody on the outside can argue it, who they have internally that is impartial to go ahead and argue this?
They don't. I mean, that's the simple answer. We have sent a letter to the director of the Department of Corrections, outlining our concerns, asking to be provided with the information and evidence that they supposedly have, and we got no response. So again, there's no way for us to force that issue.
Right, because there's no other course of action that you can take on the outside to affect anything on the inside. So the inside really has its own world, governed by its own rules, and, well, clearly definition of objects.
Well, and the rules change. The rules are applied arbitrarily, and the rules are enforced, if you will, not always consistently.
I think they flip a coin and see how they're gonna vote on something. I don't know. I think there's a special course that you take when you get into correctional facilities that takes common sense away. And every time I look at some of these criminal cases, when I hear about stories of the prison systems and what happens on the inside, and I really think common sense is something that needs to be eliminated for you to, I guess, govern the prison system. You redefine words.
Let me make.
Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, and let me maybe take a different view, if you will.
Oh, please, because I'm going to be bashing on them all night. So please.
Yeah, I think the problem is that The prison systems are not adequately funded. The people who work there are not adequately trained. Legislatures don't want to put money into corrections. And because of that, from the higher level, you get situations that you just described, where sometimes common sense goes out the window, or prisoners are trying to solve these riddles that are the grievance procedures that are in place.
Dale, that was a very diplomatic response, and I applaud you for it. It was really put together well off the top of your head, and I applaud you for that. Here's how I look at that now. I come back to common sense, but let's take it a step further. You're saying that the system is not properly funded, and the individuals working the system are not well trained, and common sense is free, though a lot of people tend to leave it on the shelf. It's free, still free. But if the individuals who are running these facilities at least are required to have, I don't know, an associate's degree, a master's, something that says, I went through an institution of higher learning where I got to apply common sense to some things. I got to apply some acquired knowledge from studying others' writings and publications. I don't know what the requirements are. I am just thinking that those can't be it for these decisions to be made. Either that or the business of prison systems really makes you stupid. So I need I need some help. I need some clarification. I need something. Question coming out of the stew pot.
This system is this case, Julius Jones case, to me is one of those miraculous stories for the general public, the state of Oklahoma, and other people who are not familiar with the criminal justice system, to get a good inside look about what has been transpiring in our system. And Julius Jones is not the only one. There's thousands of Julius Joneses out there. And I've got a lot of requests from family members that have unbelievable stories, but they're all just what you pointed. There are systematic issues, there's systematic protocols, procedures in place that won't allow some particular individual cases to have what we call an equitable chance at freedom. And we've watched this case for Julius Jones. The general public has said, wow, if it's happening just to Julius, how many others are also affected by this nuance of the system? And that's when we talk about criminal justice reform. How do we change the paradigm for this system going forward in the future? Small stuff like this. As Dale said, there is no other jurisdiction besides the internal jurisdiction. So how are you going to beat the person who said that you had something?
Exactly.
You're not, right? Exactly. So those small nuances are the measurements from the inside out that we need to begin to have conversations about and talking about of how to really truly transform this system. And that's just this one particular case. Think about all the other small nuances each individual is having. I guarantee you, we sit down with 1,000 families, we're going to hear 1,000 different stories about what they have experienced with the system that nobody has been able to talk about because nobody has experienced it.
Yeah.
Fortunately and unfortunately, Julius Jones is the poster child of, wow, look at what's been going on in the system, right behind our eyes. But now we have an opportunity, in my opinion, we have an opportunity to do something, Case 2. We have an opportunity to raise our voice and raise our flag to say, hey, we need these specific measurements in the conversation to hopefully change this so we can save some lives.
And I guess this is why one of the reasons why you have people up in arms against the prison system, and they want I guess you can't defund something that is underfunded. I don't know how you defund that. But and how is it so underfunded when it is such big business? I'm so confused. The more I ask questions, the more confused I get. It's like looking at the cell phone charger. I'm so confused. Okay,
well,
so
here's something to think about too.
okay,
People commit crimes, people go to prison.
okay,
The question is, should government be responsible for the care and custody of people who are incarcerated? And what should we do with those people? We should get treatment. We should provide programs. We should make it provide education so that when the person gets out, he or she could be a productive member of society.
all right.
What has happened in many of the states? They've privatized prisons.
Yes.
They've outsourced incarceration.
Mm-hmm.
So the people who are in private prisons are doing it on the cheap because there's a profit motive. There should not be profits when it comes to taking care of people who are in custody.
All right. Let me go ahead and have a little bit of a banter with you here, Dale. So, leading up, based on what you were saying there, let me ask this. If you are convicted of a crime, are you still a resident or citizen of the country in which you commit this crime? And to be more specific, right here in the United States, when you have been convicted of a crime, does that mean that all your rights that have been afforded to you by just being born into this country or born on this land or living here, does that mean that they all go away? You're no longer human. You no longer deserve the right to certain things. You no longer have the right to an opinion. You no longer have the right to view or argue a transgression being processed against you, an accusation. Just because you were convicted of a crime, all of those rights go away. Is that how the criminal justice system works here? Is it, just to make sure?
It's not supposed to work that way.
Okay, cool.
The basic human rights remain, the right to due process.
All right. So if the human rights remain in place, how is it that they're taken away when you get incarcerated? Furthermore, you ask if the government should be involved in making certain things happen, and you present a case on that. Why is this system called a correctional system? Why is a facility called a correctional facility, if not to correct an activity or a behavior? Now, in correcting this behavior, shouldn't certain things be in place to, one, track the correction of this behavior, and two, measure if this behavior has been corrected, and three, have a system in place to reintegrate said individual whose behavior was corrected to society? Where is all of this?
I would change the word correction to rehabilitation. because you want to give the person as many resources as you can to make sure that that person succeeds. And I agree with the 3 points that you made. Yes, there have to be measures, and yes, the prisons need to be held accountable.
I was just wondering if I was alone in my thoughts. I don't know if it is a good thing that you can relate to what I'm asking and what I'm saying, Dale, or boy, some would say you're in bad company agreeing with me. Whew. But the family trusts you, and so does Julius. So I guess I'm on the good side this time.
I think you hit some major points. The system has some, in my opinion, and I'm not as a constitutional sharp guy like Dale. That's his lane. But
Yeah.
from the outside looking in, from a structural standpoint, I feel like our criminal justice system was set up, designed initially to do one thing, and then it has mutated into a total different animal, total different beast.
Do
right?
you
So
really think it has mutated, though, Jimmy? Really?
No, it has. It's become more apparent and observant. It's become more what we call, I'm beginning to see what this matrix is really built to be, and that's the knowledge part. That's the learning part that I think we as citizens have garnered over the past 20 to 30 years.
So it is more along the line of it being exposed.
Yeah. So Dale brought some good points up about what the constitutional side of this system was supposed to be, but it has been the exact opposite. It's supposed to be the word correction, right, or AKA rehabilitation services and programs to help benefit the individual to be in somewhat prepared to be a productive citizen again. But we all know it's the total opposite of that mantra. So it's now exposed. Now, in my opinion, we have a chance. My kids have an opportunity to have a chance to change this paradigm because they have such a large population. My daughter's 21. That core of age group is a little bit more aware now, and I think they really have the power.
Yes.
They've got the numbers power, right? They've got the population power.
Yes.
To really change the paradigm. That's our job as parents, to expose them, show them, as Dale said, be transparent about the system, and then give us some tools to go get this thing. So that's what I'm excited about, man. I think Julius will be able to come out. He'll be an amazing spokesperson that will fuel that next generation to make a change.
All right, so we have people that have come out, and some of the big cases, we had Central Park 5, these people have come out, and they have spoken, in some cases, all over the world. But either nothing has changed, or what we're seeing now is just that these individuals were already caught up in the system, which I pray no one that I already know not in the system gets into this system, because it apparently is really easy to get into. It's like trouble. Really easy to get into, but very hard to get out of. Right, Antoinette? I know you can relate.
Correct.
You're calling out Antoinette on a whole lot of things tonight. Her age, getting into trouble. But it seems almost impossible to clear your name when someone says, this person here did that thing. And again, now it goes to the black and white of it all, not just what is in writing, but what we see on the surface of our skins, where if you're of a certain hue and you make an accusation, it carries a certain weight versus another hue and you make an accusation and it comes with 20 questions.
Mm-hmm.
So the playing field is no more level on the outside than it is on the inside. But clearly on the inside, it's not even a field. It's just a span of land or an abyss. It's a rehabilitation abyss. That's what it is. Because you drop in there and you just keep falling and can't seem to get out. Justice C says she still wants to know. And I'm thinking Justice C is a she. I keep saying that she ever since coming on. The majority of listeners of the night shift to DJ Kevin Stew are women, so I am generally drawn to she. All right, so Justice C wants to know if anyone talked to that black juror from the trial, and if so, what did he say? Did anybody get to speak with any of the jurors from the trial? Do you guys know? Antoinette, Jimmy, do any of you know?
I know I for one didn't talk to the jurors because I think that's tampering with I forgot what they call it there.
Tampering with jurors. As part of our investigation, we did talk to some of the jurors, and counsel before us also talked to some of the jurors, and we have affidavits from those individuals that we have submitted to the Pardon and Parole Board. So we have now. Not all jurors are willing to talk. Some jurors have passed away because this case went to trial a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we have met with some of the jurors.
So, can you shed a little light on some of the things that were said in some of these affidavits? Justice C seems really key on finding out what that black juror, why did that black juror vote guilty? But generally speaking,
well, we have to remember that only the state's case was presented at trial, and if all the jurors heard was that the co-defendant said, I was with Julius and Julius did it, and the two confidential informants are saying Julius did it, and that's all the jury hears.
That's all that they have to go on because they have to deliberate on the information that was presented.
Exactly. So, did the jurors make the right decision? That's a hard question to answer because based on what was presented, one can see how they come to that conclusion. But based on what we know now and what we've uncovered, if we presented the case to the jury today, I'm sure the outcome would be different.
Well, again, going back in time, hindsight is 2020. But even without hindsight, just to hear testimony from Antoinette, Jimmy, Anthony, senior and junior, and their mom, Julius's mom, Julius's girlfriend, just those testimonies alone would present that little thing called reasonable doubt. Just that. And like you said, it is just the state's case that was presented. And I think that is really key in a lot of wrongful incarcerations. We often hear of insufficient representation. We often hear of a well-experienced prosecutor and an inexperienced defense attorney. We often hear of information being withheld by prosecution. And I can tell you, Rodney Reed's case is one that I'm very well familiar with. Talking with the consultant on that case regularly. And there's information that is being put together about the Texas Attorney General withholding information. So, and we have heard, of course, we know about the Central Park 5, so it is not something that is new. We've heard of other cases. I spoke with Daniel Gutierrez out of Arizona. Dan Gutierrez is the second conviction in U.S. history to be voided. And Dan is now running for an office in order to help put some of these things, expose some of these foolishness and put some of them in the ground, to do away with some of them.
That's the key right there, K-Stu.
Yeah, apparently it is. So we're going to have to fight fire with fire. We're going to have to get involved on their level in order to clearly make a difference. Because what we're doing on the outside, yes, we need to let our voices be heard, and yes, we need to have conferences and rallies and these peaceful protests. You know, that's getting the word out there. But when you get the word out there, then what? Who is arguing these cases amongst those that can influence change? Those that can sign a document that can say, all right, this foolishness has to stop. Those that can say, all right, this thing is called a rehabilitation center for a reason. Let's rehabilitate.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important, Kane, until we get individuals who are willing to dive in to get those leadership roles that could have the power and authority to change laws, change ordinance, change the way this system is designed, or put programs in place that we've never had before, then we're always going to get the same product, until we get people to dive in. So, and that's my mindset. That's kind of one of the reasons why inspired me to run for Oklahoma City mayor, is to put myself in a position where I can help people like Julius, more Juliuses. There's thousands of people who need relief, just not on the criminal justice side, but in our society. But it takes people to dive in, take a risk to get those type of positions. Think about it. What if we had attorney generals who had character and integrity that were truly for the people, right? Not for numbers and conviction rates, but for the people. I mean, what dynamic would that change our system? Was totally change the whole paradigm from top to bottom. But until we get people who are willing to dive into that, then we're going to continue to get the same product.
I spoke with someone.
You must be in close proximity to help. You got to be able to see it up close. It's got to be up close and personal, and that's basically why this movement, why this Justice for Jesus campaign is. Yeah. That's why it's thriving and continuing on, is because people have really gotten close to it. Like, they've actually put themselves in that position.
Right.
Of Julius, in the position of Julius.
Yeah. But
I apologize for stopping y'all. Go ahead.
Oh no. Really, I interrupted you guys. This is your broadcast. I'm just facilitating it, really and truly. And I just have some questions that I had to ask with you guys here, because without you here, I'd just be asking it only to come back to you and ask it again. So I'm glad you're here to field my questions as I present them. One person in the stew pot asked, what can we do to help Julius Jones? Thank you, 455, for that question. And I think Antoinette just started to touch on that, the Justice for Julius movement. Antoinette, could you talk a little bit more about that for me?
We're still asking people to continue to stay with us, continue to follow the official pages for our campaign Justice for Julius. So we're on all 3 platforms: IG, Twitter, and Facebook. If you still don't know how to find it, you can always put in the hashtag Justice for Julius, and it'll take you to posts that will eventually take you to the official pages. And you can also stay connected by going to www.justiceforjuliusjones.com. Right now, we're asking people to call in to the partner parole board offices and the governor's offices and tell them that you are in support of Julius' stage 2 commutation. And also, we need to uplift people like Jimmy Lawson. You can also find more information about helping Jimmy at www.lawson4okc.com. He's a great individual, just not as my brother, but just a great all-around individual. He even got Teacher of the Year. So by uplifting people like him in our community that are helping with justice reform programs and also campaigns, we have to uplift those leaders and continue to stay with Julius and uplift him as well. And by doing that, we're helping the community, because when people found out about Julius's case, they also found out about so many young men that are being railroaded, and so many young men that don't have the legal counsel that they need. So I also need to do a bit more information finding for organizations here, so I can boast about those, and so that I can help other people as well in my community. But I did a whole plug for everybody. I apologize, but
Hey,
we're just asking people to continue to talk about Jesus' case. Like we're talking right now about the key points of Jesus' case. Continue to talk about that, post about that, reshare. Also follow Dale Baich. He's a great human being, a fierce lawyer, and I appreciate God every day for bringing him and Amanda Bass into our lives.
Yes.
And do I need to answer any more questions? I mean, any other questions? Was there another question or something like that?
No, I just one thing I would say about Dale, he just needs to stop playing these pranks. And that's all.
Hey, I'm telling you, I was like, man, Dad, you gotta be joking right now. You gotta be kidding. Oh, that's hilarious.
456, welcome to the broadcast. If you want to share the link, it will be uploaded to YouTube on the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. In the morning, it will be available on YouTube. You just go to the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew, but you don't even have to do that. Just go to this platform, kevinstew.com, and you'll find it here. The link to YouTube is right here on kevinstew.com. And the podcast, the link to the podcast is right here on kevinstew.com. So there are so many ways that you can share this information out to people. The podcast and the YouTube, they're all of the same name. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. And there are other episodes, if you want to call it that, other editions of this broadcast in the past with Antoinette and Jimmy and Dale. So it's not just now that we started talking about this. It's not just now that these individuals have been defending and speaking up about their brother's wrongful incarceration. And yes, I will continue to call it so, because that is exactly what it is. The blind could tell you that Julius didn't do this. And even with the plea deals, I meant to touch on that a little bit earlier. So here we go, a little bit further into this rabbit hole. The plea deals deal that were given to Julius. Didn't these plea deals help to paint that picture of Julius being a violent repeat offender?
Absolutely. So, Julius was never offered a plea. What happened is Chris Jordan, the co-defendant, said in exchange for the state getting rid of the death penalty as an option in his case, he would testify against Julius and point the finger at Julius. What's interesting, during the 6 or 7 interrogations by the police where Chris made inconsistent statements throughout, at one point the police said, hey, maybe we've got the wrong guy here. And that got Chris back on track. So he testifies against Julius. The jury is told that Chris would serve 30 years before he would be eligible for release. And guess what? He got out in 15 years.
Right.
So Christopher Jordan is out of prison, and Julius is getting closer and closer to scheduled execution date.
Right. The question Justice C is asking, was the judge also corrupt in Julius's trial like Harold Townley was in Rodney Reed's trial and the judges that followed after during his appeals? Was there any question of the judges or the judge in Julius's case?
We haven't been able to uncover any overt judicial bias or misconduct, and the way that the law is structured, judges don't have a whole lot of discretion when it comes to making certain decisions. So as the case goes up through the appellate process, judges are sort of limited as to what kind of relief they can give. There was a situation when Julius's case was in the Federal Court of Appeals a couple of years ago, and one of the judges who heard the argument in his case, it was in front of a 3-judge panel, was a former assistant U.S. attorney who wrote a column for the local newspaper, basically saying Julius was guilty and deserved the death penalty. When that information was uncovered, the lawyers went back to the court and said, hey, you have a biased judge on this panel. The judge was removed from the panel. A new judge was assigned to the case, and there was a new argument. So yes, there was one instance of judicial bias, but not at the beginning of the process. It was at the end, and it was discovered and it was corrected.
Hearing something like that, it leads me to think, well, this judge has influence. This judge is someone that is respected. So his peers are going to be influenced by what he has to say. So does that taint the pool when you have one judge out of a pool of judges that would take a position like this? Because, we have to remember at the end of the day, we're still talking about people. Individuals have opinions which dictate or guide some of their biases, or their biases dictate or guide their opinions. Whichever way it may go, it's interchangeable. So these judges are still human beings, and they have opinions. They have ways in which they were all raised. They have these external influences. And yeah, I get it where you say that they're bound by certain things, Dale. But at the same time, I'm thinking they're still human. They're going to have some personal things going on that would affect or influence whatever bias they may have. So it is now your job as an attorney to, I guess, recognize some of these things and find whatever links that you can find, and then present using the law to state your case and your claim, which makes your job a little bit harder.
And that is part of the investigation that we do in all of our cases. Fortunately, the lawyer who had the case right before us discovered that and did her best to fix it at the time. I'll leave it at that.
That sounds like a whole new show. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Let's put a bow on this for tonight. To answer your question, Justice C, question: how is it even legal with that half of a sentence Chris Jordan served? Just what Dale said. Plea deal. And to show you how slick these people are, if you go back to one of the previous broadcasts, you will hear Jimmy say the first time he came across Chris, who should have been locked up, he was shocked. Right, Jimmy?
Oh yeah, I thought I was dreaming. Some people told me that he was out,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody confirmed any physical, contact with him yet. So I guess he kind of just migrated back into Oklahoma. And yeah, I was shocked. I didn't recognize him at first. As I said the first time, he cut all his hair off.
Yeah.
And 'cause he was looking totally different, so that kind of threw me off for a little bit.
Did he look rehabilitated?
No.
I'm trying. I'm trying here.
I know you're trying. You're trying your best, but it was, it was one of those when you hear someone like Dale say, we knew he had a plea deal, we knew what was kind of going behind the scenes, but until you really, you see that person, and that means that person is really out, right? And so until you see that for your own eyeballs, is just one of those moments in time that are very tough to describe.
There's one thing I forgot to mention, and this is really important when it comes to Chris Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
He made statements to at least 3 different people in the Oklahoma County jail that he was the shooter and that he set Julius up. And after the 2020 broadcast in last summer, we got a letter from a prisoner in Arkansas
Mm-hmm.
who served time with Chris Jordan because Chris served his sentence in Arkansas.
Right.
And he told us that he was watching the 2020 episode. He recognized Chris. He worked with Chris at the prison in the commissary. And 10 years earlier, Chris had told him that he was responsible for a killing where another guy is on death row.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell this prisoner anything more than that. 10 years later, he sees Chris on the 2020 episode and said, "Oh my God, this is what he was talking about."
Right.
And
It's
this
true.
man reached out to us. He reached out to us. We met with him a number of times. We reviewed his prison record, and he gave us a statement saying that that Chris told him he was responsible, for killing a man. So, you have three different people. None of them know each other, and they all say that Chris said the same thing to them. And I think that's really important for people to remember that Chris confessed to the murder.
Justice C just raised a really good point as we wrap this up. It is interesting how jailhouse informants work well in favor of the state, but denied credibility in the defense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Crazy. 458. You are well. I welcome you going ahead and sharing this with anybody that you see fit to share it with. These are not random discussions. These are not one-off discussions. We have talked before on this subject, on this matter, and we'll continue to talk on this. We continue to support the fight to get Julius home because his sister is right here, his best friend is right here, and his attorney is right here. Now, you could go ahead and argue that the attorney is paid to be here. He's getting paid for this. This is his job, whatever. Well, his sister could have given up on him, and his best friend could have given up on him, and his attorney could do a crappy job, just like the one that was done to get him here in the first place. Sorry, dude, but that's on you. And so we know at this point that these are real individuals presenting a real case about someone who is really facing the death penalty in a state that is willing to go ahead and flip the switch. They're ready to go. These people want to save face and not say that they got it wrong. Here it is, you have an attorney general that seems to be an advocate for the family. I'm not too sure why. But this is the case. Antoinette, you wanted to say something?
Let me just say real quick that justice for Julius Jones is justice for Paul Scott Howe.
Yes.
And when I say that, I mean that because they did not get true justice.
True.
They did not get the right person that killed Mr. Paul Scott Howe.
True that. Very true that. Listen, all social media platforms, you start in that search, Justice for Julius Jones, you will find Antoinette. You'll find Dale. You'll find Amanda. Amanda Bass is not on this broadcast tonight with us, but you'll find her. You'll find Jimmy Lawson. You will find the family of Julius Jones, who has always been there and saying, but why do you have him here? He did nothing. This family that still didn't get, that was never heard when Julius was on trial. And shame on you, justice system, for only addressing one side of the case. Well, I guess you can't really blame the justice system, but those who participate in it, the active role players. Where you point the finger, I don't know. Mike Hunter has stepped down. Now we just need Prater removed. Yeah, Justice C. For someone that lives in Texas, you're really on point with what is happening in Oklahoma. And Justice C said, where was it? Said something about, do they appoint retired judges who don't take the oaths in Oklahoma like they do here in Texas for the defendant's appeals process? I guess that's also a good question. Dale, is there a quick way to answer that question?
Typically, retired judges do not get appointed in criminal cases. They usually move on to to serve on other boards or commissions, or maybe go into private law practice.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So, Justice for Julius Jones on all social media platforms. You can visit the website of the same name, Justice for Julius Jones. Antoinette, is there anything you want to add before we drop the curtain on tonight's proceedings?
I just want to say thank you for continuing to have us on your show. Continue to lean in for Julius. Continuing to post about him. Shout out to Justice C. She's been rolling with us on Twitter for about 1.5 years or 2 years. So yeah, she's up on her knowledge about the system, especially in Texas, how bad it is out there too. But shout out to everybody that's continuing to stand with Julius. Thank you to all those who have went to the website and bought T-shirts and posted about them. Appreciate you.
I got my T-shirt. Thanks to Donnie Walker. I got my T-shirt. Donnie.
Yeah.
Bought
Shout out to D Walker.
Yeah.
D Walker.
Yeah.
What up, D Walker?
Yeah. I was Donnie was like, "Hey, what's that shirt you want, man?" I'm like, "What? What shirt?" Yeah, I have my Justice for Julius shirt. I took a picture in it, I posted it and everything. Mine looks a little bit different because it's the green screen that I have and how it blends with that. And I wish these judicial officials who commit misconduct in cases of getting convictions on innocent people were properly punished for their crimes. You and me both, Justice C. There is no recourse for the attorneys, for the judicial officials that are willfully and knowingly put innocent people behind bars. None. No recourse.
All I can say is, if it don't happen here on earth, God shall have his time to judge them accordingly. We all shall be judged accordingly for our works. That's
Amen.
The only thing that keeps me at bay and also humbles me, because like y'all were stating, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
But it's that accountability for holding these high positions and kind of playing chess with people's lives. It's not a game when you're playing with somebody's life.
Right.
And that's what it is. People are so disconnected with the people that they're just the fouls and things like that. They're just so disconnected, and it's so inhumane. I mean, I don't even know how to really explain it other than they're not taking into consideration that these are human beings. They're not case numbers.
Yeah. True that. As we continue to fight, as we continue to press on to bring Julius home, thank you, Antoinette. Jimmy, any words from you before we drop the curtain?
Yeah, real quick, man. We thank you for sacrificing your time and effort for diving in with this case with us. You've been following for quite some time. We are highly appreciative that you're using your platform to help us expose his case and other cases as well, and giving us an opportunity to garnish the exposure that we are needed to bring Julius home Thanks to Dale and Amanda. I thank God for Dale and Amanda. We were at a dead point up until they came along. So they are God sent, man, and we're gonna all celebrate here really soon.
Yeah, definitely. We need to bring Amanda in one of these nights for real. Dale.
Thanks so much for what you do. It's really, really important. I appreciate you elevating the case, bringing us on to talk about it. And I want to remind people that the Pardon and Parole Board is scheduled to hear Julius's commutation on September 13th. So we're working hard to as we put the case together to present to the board, and we really appreciate everybody's support.
Yes. You're welcome. You're welcome to all of you. And please give Julius my love. I am in his corner. Let him know that for me, please. And I'm not just saying it because this is this public platform that people get to hear me say that. Nah, none of that. I don't. That doesn't mean as much to me as Julius knowing that. Yeah, we here for him and with him through this all. I asked off the air, but if you could just share with us, any of you, how Julius is doing. Dale, I know you said you spoke with him, about 2 weeks ago? You met with him?
I saw him 2 weeks ago. Yes. I spoke to him last week by phone. His spirit is strong, and he's just so grateful for all the support that he's receiving, and asked me to thank everyone for what they've been doing for him. Awesome.
Thank you, Dale. Dale, Antoinette, Jimmy, thank you for your time. Truly appreciate of you guys. Thank you for the work you're putting in. Dale, especially the work you are putting in to get this innocent man off death row. Jimmy, Antoinette, thank you for not giving up on Julius. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks again for having us, K-Stu. Much appreciated.
Not a problem.
Take good care.
It's my privilege and honor. Thank you, Dale. You guys take care. Everybody listening in, connect with these people on social media any which way you can. Hashtag Justice for Julius Jones. Spread it everywhere. Jump on board. Support. They constantly tell you how you can support. Get connected on these social media platforms. Alright? Until we talk again, y'all take care. Thank you to the affiliates. One Harmony Radio in the UK, NIE Radio in New Jersey, Island Worldwide in New York, WGLRO out of Texas, Olliwap Radio, Dusik Media Groups, the Foundation Radio Network out of South Florida, ClintonLindsay.com. Much love, truly appreciate of each and every one of you, and for all the supporters here at the home of the Night Shift, the DJ Kevin Stewart. You're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you wherever you are in the world. I leave you with Korik as he says, give I faith. And as we go, remember to look out for members of your community. And your community is not just the development that you live in, but it spreads far and wide. So those that you pass on the bus, on the plane, on the boat, or the train, whether you walk, ride, or drive, these are members of your community. Do something good for one of them today, because you never know who's going to do something good for you tomorrow. Take care. Look out for each other. Much love. Dale, Antoinette, Jimmy, good night. Blessings to you guys.
Good night. Good night.
Road boys and police running wild in the streets, and it feels like a war zone. Imagine me work so hard, I can't let down my guard, cause robbers want to take my one. But goodness and mercy will guide and protect me, so me know so me not alone. But I need faith to go on. In all this ya Gideon, I need your strength to hold on. Cause on my own I'm just not strong enough. Give me faith to go on. In all this ya Gideon, I need your strength to hold on. Cause on my own I'm just not strong. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure.
Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment.